You kill me.
Ashley!
Hey! How are you?
What's up? How you feeling? How's
I'm
it going?
great. Everything's great. My vibe's great. Everything's great. Like I can't even
Okay,
complain.
energy, energy. Well, I just want to say thank you for being here today.
Of
Welcome to Bigger
course.
Talks, IG Live Chat. It's about you, your career, women in sports. The NBA season because you report on a lot of the NBA, and I
Hmm.
think you have really, really good discussions, and we have debates sometimes. So, to people on this live who don't know Ashley is a good friend of mine. I met 3 years ago in Arizona through a mutual
Hmm.
friend. We stayed in contact. She's the homie. It's like she's my bestie, but we talk everything: life, sports, spirituality. And
Hmm.
I've watched Ashley just grow and just become a beam of light in her position. So, Ashley, let's get this thing started. You
Let's
look
do it.
great, and
Thank you.
congratulations on all your success and your progress, because progress equals happiness. But before we get into the discussion, let's take you back to your hometown because you're a native of Chicago, correct?
I am. Yes.
Right. So give me a little, just like a brief synopsis on like what was it like for you growing up in Chicago and what inspired you to just get into sports in general? Did you play sports? Were you a cheerleader? Like what did you do?
I was a cheerleader and a dancer. I cheerleaded for football and basketball. But
Uh-huh.
I would say my biggest inspiration for sports is my grandma. And everyone's always so shocked when I say that. But my grandma was the biggest influence over me. We went to baseball games, the Cubs games at Wrigley Field all the time. I would
Got
miss
it.
so much school. Like, I can't even count how much school I would miss because there'd be games. She's like, we got to go to the games.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah.
and just kind of watching just how she carried herself, how she watched sports. Like, she was so knowledgeable about every
Wow.
sport. Yeah, way more than me because it was for her, she liked everything across the board. I
Got it.
obviously specialize just in basketball.
Okay.
I've covered football before. I've covered a little bit of baseball, so it's not like I don't, know the sports. Like I'm pretty well
Yeah.
versed, but
Got it.
my love is with basketball. But for her, she was always watching like, golf and tennis, and she loved everything. So all my inspirations from her. Chicago was great. We had all the sports teams, all the professional teams. We're diehard fans. I love Chicago, the Chicago
Yeah.
Bulls, especially.
Oh, yeah.
Grew up with them in the '90s, so that was great. So honestly, I had a great life
Chicago.
growing up. Yeah,
Yeah.
I loved
Shy
it.
City. That's something I didn't know about you. That's a fun fact. I didn't know your grandmother was your biggest inspiration into
What?
sports. So it's interesting that the topic is
Wow.
women in sports, isn't that?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So you went to the Arizona University, right? Was it University of Arizona? It's
University
AU,
of
right?
Arizona. Yes.
University UA. So
The
University of Arizona.
university, the better school
Got
down
it.
south in
Because I know
Tucson.
ASU, right?
Yes.
So how was that? What was your major and what was college like for you? What was your experiences like in at University of Arizona? Go
So it's
Wildcats!
yeah, bear down, baby. So with U of A, it's actually interesting. I went into school majoring in not even broadcast journalism. I wanted to be a sociology major. I wanted to
Yeah,
do something to do with people. I think like another one of my callings is when I know we and you get really deep into everything about our birthdays and what we're meant to do and our our calling. Um, I like psychology. I like the study of
yeah,
people, the study of the mind, and that's something that I've always loved. So I went into sociology and I was kind of like, where's this going to take me? Like sociology, like what am I going to do with that like after school?
yeah,
So I was like, I need to think of something that I can combine with working with people, but also combine with something that I really love. So I kind of intertwined the two of them. I'm like sports broadcasting. Like I like
okay,
sports. I like
got
talking
it.
to people. So I was like, this is perfect. So I combined the two. I did broadcast journalism at the University of Arizona, and then I also did sports management, which was my minor. So I got to learn kind of the other side of sports, where it's not just like talking on camera, doing interviews, writing. It's more so like the PR side,
Oh, okay,
how they handle things within the teams, how to approach PR. So that was a whole different beast. Learning marketing strategies, things like that. Um, I just wanted to have that under my belt, and I really
yeah,
loved it. I mean, it was great. And the thing with U of A, there wasn't like a ton to do.
Yeah.
So believe it or not, I spent like, I mean, I went out, I had a good time.
Who was at the school? Who was on the basketball team in your years? Who was on the team? What was their star players? I remember because I remember U of A, Jason Terry. This is dude. Is it Will Solomon? Not Will Solomon. What's his name? Simon. The Simon kid at the time.
Yeah.
Jason Gardner, Richard Jefferson, Gilbert Arenas. These are the guys I remember.
Those are a little bit older than. Yeah, those are a little bit older guys. But with me, it was Derek Williams, Solomon Hill, Momo Jones, Mark Lyons, TJ McConnell, Rondé Hollis Jefferson, Aaron Gordon, and the list goes on. So that was it was fun because I stayed for about 4.5 years.
Yeah.
So I got to like really, kind of see like the evolution of the basketball program. And I watched a lot of NBA League Pass. I'm such like a basketball nerd. I was always at home. Like people be like, oh, let's go out. I'm like, no, there's a game tonight. The Bulls are playing. Like, I'd have my computer screen and then I'd have a game on the TV. I'd have 4 games on my computer, one on the TV. Oh yeah. I was like, I was locked in. It was great. I was locked in.
But no prior basketball experience? Did you play in high school or did you play AAU, rec league? So no basketball at all.
My brother played basketball. I got to watch.
But you didn't play. You didn't play.
No, like the thing is, like I'm using this as an excuse.
I don't know, for some reason, I thought you played basketball at least, like maybe when you were in like middle school or high school, at least. Wow,
I have short legs and arms. It was always really hard for me to dribble between my legs. I just like couldn't like pick it up. I'll play occasionally, like out here, like in Arizona, if someone's like at the gym and they want to shoot, whatever. I'll work on my handles a little bit, but like no, I'm not that good.
Got it. So if you had to think about from an intangible perspective, not a physical perspective, what drew you into basketball? Like I know you talked about your grandmother, like baseball, going to all these games. She got you into like sports, but why basketball? Was it the energy that was in Chicago coming up with the Bulls and Michael Jordan? Like what was it that got you like, you know what? This sport is something I'm intrigued by. I want to study it. What was that for you?
That's a great question. I need to think about that answer. I think I liked the camaraderie with the players. I just liked that team aspect of the game. And I just feel like sports bring so many people together. Like it's just something that you can talk about, something that you can relate to. And I like that it's also kind of an escape from everyday life. And it's like, oh, I can't wait to like watch my favorite players compete tonight. Like I can't wait to, watch my favorite team. I can't wait to watch this matchup, 2 rivalries, like, 2 guys going at each other. Like, I love that. And the same thing, like, growing up watching the Bulls, like, if you grew up in Chicago during the 90s, like, there's absolutely, like, no way that you're not a Bulls fan. Like, there's just not. Like, you can't be from Chicago and not be, like, a big sports fan or a Bulls fan. So I grew up, like, just loving basketball, but I really liked baseball at first. Like, baseball was, like, my main love. Because I would go to all the games with my grandma, and like I knew, like I was during Sammy Sosa days and like Mark McGuire and like all those guys, and we had season tickets, like I'd be going all the time. But it was after the Steve Bartman game, that legendary game that I was at.
Yeah, so tell me about that game. What happened at the game? Because I don't have the information on that. What happened?
So I hate to relive it, but they were making a playoff push, and they needed to win this game to advance to. I think it was, to advance to the World Series. And they were up like a couple games to like maybe 1 or something like that. I don't remember the full on like story behind it, but we're at the game. I'm thinking they're going to win. I'm all hyped up. And the guy, I think Steve Bartman was in the left outfield, or he was in the left field. And he intercepted what would have been maybe an out with the guy that was in left field. I think it was Moises Alou at the time. He intercepted the ball, caught it in the stands, and like all of Wrigley Field just went dead silent. You can hear like a pin drop. Like we were just disgusted because we were like, it was kind of the turning point, when it's like when you're watching a game and then you see the momentum shift. It was like everything was going good, and then boom, that happened. The fan interfered, and then suddenly from there they lost the game. Everything started going wrong, and then the next game they ended up losing, and then they did not make it to the World Series. So. I was devastated.
Got it. Yeah.
I was devastated. I'm like, oh my God.
And you moved into basketball, probably.
Yeah. I mean, not that the Bulls were doing any better after that, but it was still like, I also kind of disassociated my feelings with sports. I didn't like, I stopped being like a super fan because I was like, I can't like deal with the heartbreak and just that feeling of like, damn, my team lost. I think only one other time was when the Bears were in the Super Bowl, and
Yeah,
I
that's
was
tough. Like
pissed.
that has to be like some type of fanatic syndrome or something you feel when your team. Like when my Ravens lost when they were 14-2 to the
Yeah.
Tennessee Titans in the second round, I lost. I've never felt so low in my life. Like,
Yeah.
yo, what is this? Is this like a hangover or like it was weird? So I can relate.
Hmm.
That's why sports is so needed, and thank God that we still have basketball through the pandemic because
Yeah.
look, we had everything that you're in. We had the basketball, we had the Michael Jordan documentary, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
That kept us
Everything. Oh.
intrigued, that kept us on our that gave us something to give our energy to. So
Hmm. That documentary.
yeah,
I love, well, like, even though we weren't supposed to be out, like, I would meet up with like a friend, like, with a couple friends, like, the house, and we'd like, bring some White Claws or some wine over. It was like a holiday. It was like, yes, Sunday, like the documentary,
yeah,
like, it was, and then I'm just, you're live tweeting during it, and it was just so
yeah.
much fun. Like, it was just, that was great.
It
We
was
need
great.
that. I feel like we need something like that every
Thank
weekend.
God for basketball, right?
Yes, yes, basketball. Like,
So
see, it's just so fun. I just love it.
yeah, so let's move a little bit into like women in sports, and
Yeah.
I think the first question for you is that, um, as a woman in sports, like what works for you, and what is like your biggest challenge you have experienced thus far?
Mm. That's tough. Well, right now, my biggest challenge is getting athletes consistently to do interviews during the season.
Got it.
That's pretty hard. But you know me, I'm relentless. I'll keep messaging. Like, I don't care. Until you
Yeah,
say no, I'm assuming it's a yes. I'm just going to
yeah,
keep going, keep rolling with the punches and try to get it. I would say that's the most difficult part right now. Also
yeah,
with the pandemic, it's been tough for, to get hired with companies just because it's like no one's hiring right now. Everyone's kind of just like, I don't know what the future holds. And like, it's totally understandable. Thankfully,
yeah,
I'm still kind of in it, which is nice. I'm able to still do things, still kind of just keep my foot in the door, which is nice too.
yeah,
And then I would say like the easiest part is just the connections I built over time, and
yeah,
obviously that wasn't always easy, but doing the research, being consistent, being persistent. I know I say it all the time, but it's just being just true to who I am as well.
yeah,
But as a woman, I don't think I really like saw any challenges in terms of not getting what I wanted. I mean, eventually I'm always going to get what I want because I keep, putting the energy out there.
yeah.
I'm persistent with it. Like, I'm not going to, just because I'm a girl, I'm not gonna be like, oh, I'm a girl, I have to give up now. Like, I'm never gonna be, welcome in, in a
And,
male
and
dominated industry.
I think that's the thing. I think that's the stereotype. I think that's the narrative. Like from a man outside looking in, I'm thinking like, well, maybe women have more of a difficult position than a man in a basketball male dominated sport. But maybe that's not the same for every woman, right?
Yeah.
It's not the same
Hmm.
for every female. And they're all, ebbs and flows and pros and cons. But I think what I've noticed from you is like your determination not to quit.
Hmm.
Your determination not to give up and like, no, this is what I want to do. This is what I believe in. And then you can challenge someone challenge. Like you can give information that people like I didn't even know you had.
Hmm.
Not to get off the subject, but let's talk about a topic we talked about yesterday. We talked about Ben Simmons, right? And
Yeah.
there are people that think Ben Simmons should shoot the ball and he doesn't shoot the ball, and people give him slack for that. But Ben Simmons is saying, like, look, man, I play the best defense in the league. What's up? I'm that
Hmm.
guy. And I was like, well, I think he's saying he's playing the greatest D ever this year because he's trying to deflate that he can't shoot. And he was like, well, no, I think that's a great PR stunt if that is the thing, but why not? There's nothing wrong with that. And I think
Hmm.
the way you broke it down and your context of what you were saying made me think about how I felt about it. I still think
Hmm.
he should shoot the ball. But, I mean, he's a great athlete. You can't knock that. I mean, he made it to the NBA. So I think things like that, and it's like, I think outside looking in, the world has to give women an opportunity to say, hold on, she knows what she's talking about. She doesn't have to play the sport to know the sport. She studies the sport. She watches the sport. She reports
Hmm.
on the sport. So as a sports reporter, what is like a thing that happens that people don't know to prepare for, like you got to go live and you got to talk to an athlete on the court or post game or pre-game. Like, what is something that you do before you get to showtime that you prepare yourself for the game? Like, how, like, what does that look like for you? Preparation before, like, say for instance, you gotta, like, I've seen you interview Damian Lillard before. I think you interviewed Derrick Rose. I mean, you interviewed a lot of superstars. So what is your prep? What is your preparation before you get to the game for you, which is showing up and interviewing a NBA guy, a player?
Well, first preparation is knowing who my subject is. I do my research. I study them inside and out. So I basically look at everything. I look up all their Instagram posts, and I'm like, oh, well, maybe there's something in there that I can ask about, or something they posted a long time ago that like maybe is of interest to me. Like for example, like a guy like DeAndre Jordan, like I definitely want to interview him, and I know that he likes gluten-free cookies. And I interviewed one of his teammates one time, and I go, here's some gluten-free cookies, and I, brought them ahead of time because I knew that I was going to, see someone on his team or interview him. So I was like, okay, I'm going to give him a little gift, like gluten-free cookies. So I do my research like that, where I try to find something about them that not everyone knows. And like, I'm giving so many gems right now. I feel bad for anyone that's not doing this. But I try to, this is how I'm different. I also start watching other people do interviews. Like, people think like my inspiration doesn't come from other sports reporters. I watch. No, like there's some sports reporters that I look at that I'm like, oh, like I like their delivery. I like how they write. I like how they do their broadcast. I like their questions. But like, I go to other sources for different details, and I get my interview questions from other people who are either coaches or their mentors or on YouTube. Like, I find different types of interviews so I can stand out, because what they're doing, it's not in sports. Sports is very, like, if you watch some of these interviews, a lot of these people just talk about the sport, and they just talk about basketball. Me, I like to go more in depth. Like, I want to know you. Like, I want to know, like, your biggest... Capricorn.
You're a life path 6. You're more than just
a
sports reporter.
Exactly. Like, you know everything about me. You literally can break me down to a T. Right. Well, actually, we figured out you don't know everything about me, but you know a lot about me. You know enough. But so that's the first thing that I do. And then, I still get a little bit nervous, believe it or not, when I get on camera. Not all the time. I just, the butterflies and kind of get me going.
For this.
Were you?
You're like, I'm like, oh my God, I'm like, okay, hold on 1 second.
I was like, 6 o'clock, let's go. But yeah, so I still get a little nervous, but I've kind of learned I actually learned this from Mel Robbins, who's someone else that I kind of turn to when I'm watching, when I want to get, better at my interviews.
5 things?
It's not the 5-second rule, but the 5-second rule was a very inspirational book. And I really enjoyed reading it. She's just one of those people that, I turn to, like, whenever I am seeking answers, for something. But she taught me how to control my nerves. So how to control my nerves.
Yeah, give me an example.
So there's a couple things. Deep breaths. Inhale, exhale before an interview. Take a deep breath. Yep. That's how and it calms you down. 10 deep breaths. And then also, you want to shift your focus from being nervous to excited. It's the same feeling you get in your stomach where you're excited and you're nervous. If you're nervous, that's like that's negative, right? Like, oh, I'm so nervous. Like, what if it fails? What if it doesn't do well? What if I stumble or mess up? But when you shift it over to, like, I'm so excited, I get to interview this person today. Like, I'm just so stoked. Like, this is going to be great. I'm going to knock it out of the ballpark. So those are kind of things that I do before interviews, so the preparation, knowing my subject, coming up with questions, watching different YouTube videos to see how I can better myself and better my questions, better my inflection, my delivery. And then I calm my nerves down. And then by the time the interview comes, like, I'm feeling good. I make them feel comfortable. I'm like, hey, like, what's up? So yeah, I make it feel comfortable.
In there. So you said you watch other people from other sources, not just sports. So who is your biggest person that does great interview that you look up to that will inspire you? Is it Oprah? Is it Mel Robbins? Is it Robin Roberts? Is it David Rubenstein, like, you know, all these powerful people. Like, who inspires you the most? I love Oprah because she's really good at listening. She's very grounded and present when she's interviewing someone. I'm like, damn, she's good. Damn, that's good. Tweetable moment.
Oprah is definitely one of mine for sure. She's definitely always been an inspiration. I would say like my two biggest inspirations for what I do and what I want to achieve down the road. Like I want to be both Oprah and Chelsea Handler. I watched a lot of Chelsea lately when it was on E, and I freaking love just like her attitude, her sassiness, and just like her joke. So like when the time is right, depending on the interview, I can kind of implement my Chelsea Handler side to me, where I can like, you've seen my goofy side. You know who I am. Most people don't get to see that side of me because I'm very I am pretty closed off. When I feel like when I'm in person with people, that's when they can really see who I am. Yeah. But when it comes to like being on camera, I still want to present myself in a certain way. And I don't feel like everyone needs to know everything about my personality. But I do have that kind of side where I'm really, you know, silly. But then there's also the Oprah side where I can have like really deep conversations with people that I feel like can not only impact my subject and me, but also impact people who are listening. So I would say those two. I love, is it Tom Ballou with Impact Theory?
Yeah.
Or is it Tim Ballou? Is it Tim Ballou or Tom Ballou?
Tom,
that's what I thought. Okay. Yeah. Tom Ballou, the Impact Theory is one of my favorites. I got my way to work or on my way places, I would always, you know, listen to it on YouTube. Jay Shetty is another one. He gets some. I love him. Like I love his story. I'm actually in the process of reading his book right now. I'm actually listening to the Audible, Think Like a Monk. And I try to implement some of those practices into what I do every day. It just helps me understand people more. So when you hear about other people share their experiences and why they behave the way they behave, it helps me do my interviews because I kind of get to, and also like researching these athletes. I do what, you know, I do the website you sent me with the zodiac sign and stuff. I do like deep dives into who these players are. And a lot of it's pretty on point. And I've tested it out before because during one of my interviews, I was like, you know, are you one of these guys that does this or does this? And I knew what he was going to answer. And he answered the way that I knew he was going to answer. And I'm like, I knew you were going to say that. He's like, how? I'm like, there's this website. And I sent it to him later on. I'm like, this is the website that kind of just gave me, you know, broke down your zodiac signs. But those are some of my favorites. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think I'm going to challenge you. I would say moving forward, maybe you should add a little bit of Chelsea and Oprah in your interviews. Not that you don't, but maybe in every interview there's a joke. And you can create the joke for each player. That's funny. That kind of like the movie. You probably already do it, but you know what I mean. Just be intentional.
But you gotta be careful with some of these guys though. Some of these guys are very sensitive. You can't make any jokes. Like if they miss a free throw and you know if they go 0 for 6 from the line and then I'm interviewing them the next day, I'll be like, bruh, like make your free throws.
You do your research and you try to understand. It's a great quote that I always use that I came up with, and it's seek to understand, then to be understood. Because most times when we're speaking or interviewing someone, we seek to be understood. Understand me, understand me. So I reverse it and say seek to understand, then to be understood. Like understand that you can be present for them and not try to get them, look, I do this too. And we do it subconsciously because it's kind of human nature. But on the outside looking in, when you can just force yourself to understand someone, it's perfect. So you interviewed a lot of guys, a lot of NBA players. Like, I mean, you got LaMelo Ball way before he was in the league. I seen you did Damian Lillard. We said Derrick Rose. You get Devin Booker. You got Devin Booker before, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know the others, but who is your greatest, your funnest or most? I know you got Jamal Murray this summer. Kendrick Perkins, you know, former NBA guy. Who is one of your greatest interviews or fun to interview that you? Oh, you got D Wade. You got D Wade, Capricorn, because you're a Capricorn. I shot out D Wade. Good guy. So from you, like, what was one of your most memorable or funnest interviews that you've done? You know, for you, like that you will always remember. Like this was great, or someone who shocked you in an interview. Like I didn't think they had that much in them. You know?
I mean, a lot of guys shock me. There's a lot of guys that I'm not sure like how they're going to be on camera, and they end up like they don't want to leave the conversation, or they say, "Wow, this felt like a," they're like, "This felt like a therapy session. Like this was great." It's like, yeah. Then we also kind of reversed it, and I let them ask me questions, which I think is kind of fun too. Instead of like them always being asked the question, I'm like, "Yo, like ask me a couple things." Like I'm open, I'm very transparent, but ooh, a couple interviews. So like I kind of have them broken down in tiers with, you know, the reason why I like the certain interviews. One of the interviews that stands out, obviously, Dwyane Wade. When I first interviewed him when he's on his, before he retired, he was on his farewell tour. And I met him in the hallway after, you know, one of the workouts. And we're all in like a scrum setting. And I just started rattling off questions. I was so freaking prepared. And that goes back to being prepared. You know, that goes back to being like, I know what my questions are going to be. I know exactly how I'm going to word them. And like, I'm going to take over that interview. And, you know, I let a couple reporters ask some questions and then I just took over. Me and him just having a conversation back and forth. I just didn't even realize anyone was there at that point. I just kept, you know, going on and on and on. And actually one of my videos, one of my questions went viral. Because I asked him about D Rose, all of us from Chi-Town, but, you know, I kind of asked him about, you know, when he was playing with him or just how he's been able to overcome injury and things like that. And how he said that his son, he wants to see how he's going to have his son practice or learn from any player. He'd want it to be D Rose. So I thought that was really cool. Yeah. That's
good information. Why did he say D Rose? He wanted to learn from D Rose. What was the
Because
details?
I asked him a question about it. I had asked him a question about
D Rose, why he would want his son on Rose. Did he tell you?
The way that he trains, the way that he prepares for games, the way that he's been rehabbing, the way that he's been just his mindset. Like for him to come back from all those injuries and getting traded and like all that went down and him being able to bounce back, that was just incredible. So just the work ethic standpoint, he's like, yo, D Rose got it. Like that's that guy. But so I would say Dwyane Wade, and then I interviewed him again in a studio, and he was like, wow, like look at you, you're in a studio, and you know, you come a long way from the hallway. Yeah, I came a long way from the hallway. So that was a pretty significant moment in my life. And I got to, you know, it was my own interview where I got to ask him questions and not have to cater it to just, you know, things that were going on at the time, but it was more so like his career, where he's at now. Talked a lot about family, and like I love that aspect. D Rose was another one. Obviously, like he's my hometown hero. I love Derrick Rose. I was like shaking. Like I don't get starstruck, believe it or not, anymore. But with him, I was like just I couldn't control myself, and you could kind of hear my voice. It starts to get a little high pitched when I get nervous, and you could hear it, but my voice is cracking a little bit. But we got it done, and it was a great interview. That one really did well too. And then, I mean, Charles Barkley was a great one. I mean, my grandma, I wish my grandma could have seen this. Like, I'm like living through her, or she's living through me right now.
She was there. She was there.
I know she was. So there's just certain things where it's like, oh, I just want to like, you know, I would have wanted to like, you know, consult with her first. Like, hey, like what questions do you want me to ask, you know? Because she would have been so excited for that one. And then even like a guy like Paul Pierce, the reason I liked that interview a lot was because I was in a different element and I got to take a player out of his element to where we're both, you know, smoking hookah and drinking wine together. Like if I can do something like that all the time, you know, obviously if there's not like, I still think there's like a bad connotation to smoking, you know, hookah and like drinking wine. It's like, oh, like, you know, I don't know if teams would approve of that or agents would like that.
The new show, the new Ashley show.
You know, I have a lot of different ideas up my sleeve. It's just, I just need the players to cooperate and you know, see the vision and understand. But like, yo, sipping wine, smoking hookah, like just a chill environment. I just think like that was just one of those things in terms of creativity that I really enjoyed. And it was at his hookah spot too. So that was really cool.
That's dope. So look, let's get into the NBA season. Okay. So question, when you think of the NBA season for 2020, 2021, what's the first word that comes up to mind? What's the first word for you?
That's a tough question. Honestly, at the second you mentioned it, I was like injuries. Like that's the first
Oh
one I'm
yes,
thinking of.
yes. Listen, that's what I
Injuries.
want to talk about, Ashley. So here's the thing. Let's send out energy and love and light to LaMarcus Aldridge. You know,
Hmm.
he found out he had an irregular heartbeat, I think last
Hmm.
night when he was playing the Sixers. So he decided the next day to retire and put his
Hmm.
health and his family first. But LaMelo Ball broke his wrist this year. He's out for the season. LeBron
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
out indefinitely with, ankle injury. Steph Curry, he bruised his. I mean, he's back, but who else? Mark
Anthony
Anthony.
Davis, and then there was just another one of
Um,
who was it? James Wiseman, I think that I just read. One of the
yeah, like
rookies. He's out for the
he's
season too.
oh, Jamal Murray.
Yeah, Jamal Murray as well. ACL.
So my
Oh,
question is, like, the
devastating.
NBA has been on fire. Like,
Hmm.
they need to create another league. The D League ain't enough, or the G League is not enough. They need to
Hmm.
create another league because these boys can flat out do it.
I know.
Luca last night,
I know.
I mean,
Crazy.
incredible, incredulous, right? So here's the
Hmm.
thing. Do you think and believe that the career expectancy of these players will be more than 10 years? All the players coming in the league now and then? Because I feel like they're going to get injured and then their career is not going to be the same. Now, some guys come back better or smarter. Paul George came back pretty decent, pretty good. He's
Hmm.
killing it now. KD looks fine. Kyrie is always sharp, but what do you think the future of the NBA will be if you have to think about injuries? Do you think it's going to be as great as we see now 5 years from now, or you think it's going to kind of like die out and then it's going to kind of like the players who really take care of their bodies, who are, I mean, maybe athletic, of course, but more consistent in like their regiment, like taking care of their body, eating healthy, because it's scary, man. Like
Hmm.
even with Ja Morant, he injured his ankle early this year. That scared me. I'm like, damn, we can't get him out.
Yeah.
Zion out last year for damn near the entire year.
Hmm.
So it just, what do you think is going to happen moving forward? All these injuries.
So there's a couple elements, a couple moving pieces. So with the season this year, they had a shortened off season, number one.
Okay.
Number two, they have a lot of back-to-backs right now. So there's sometimes they're getting maybe a 2-day break, but most of the time they get 1 day break and then
Oh
they're
yeah,
back and
right.
they get 1 day in between games. They're not practicing, they're not getting loose on those off days. Maybe getting a little lift in. And then there's a lot of back-to-backs. So you're playing a game and you gotta hop on literally you leave town that night after the game, you're on an airplane, and then you land to the next city at like what 3 in the morning, something like that, or whenever you get in. You have to get COVID tested like twice or 3 times a day, meaning you need to wake up early to make sure that you're at that appointment to get tested. If you don't, you're obviously not gonna be able to play. So
Yeah.
I think COVID has kind of made things a little tricky, but then also I think shortening the season is why there's all the back to back. So I don't think that guys are getting proper rest,
Recovery. Yeah.
recovery. And then also too, it's kind of like, well, on the flip side, there's a lot more technology. There's a lot more things you could do to recover. There's a lot more research on diets and certain equipment and technology that can help you recover quicker. I mean, they have those compression,
Yeah. Yeah.
compression
No.
pads that the guys are wearing.
Yeah. No. Yeah. I know what you're
Yeah,
talking
I
about.
mean the ice baths, cryo. They have steam room, sauna, massages, different types of treatments,
Yeah.
acupuncture. I mean, there's a million different things that these guys can do to recover their bodies. But I do think the shortened season is causing a lot of these injuries. So,
Yeah. Summed it up for me. That little bit of information makes sense because
mhm,
I didn't. I've heard of it, but the way you broke it down, I'm like, oh yeah, that's right. You're only getting 1 day off, and they right back at it. Of course, like
mhm.
these guys are going jumping and running, and some of these guys are playing the entire game.
I
And
can't move after a day of leg day. I'm
yeah,
like sore for a
so
week. I'm like, oh my God.
I've just never seen an NBA where everybody can just go. Everybody can just that boy from the Lakers, what's his name? Talon Horton, he's from Chicago. Went to Simeon. What's his name? What is his name? Do you know his name?
Taylor Horton Tucker.
Tucker. That guy can flat out do it. Like, he on the yo-yo like he ran away. Like,
when he gets playing time. When he gets playing time. Yeah.
I watched him like closely. Like, this guy is good. I mean, of course, the Jazz, the Zions, the Devin Bookers,
Devin's a star.
Kevin Durant.
Devin's a star.
So it's so much competition. These guys are competing at a high. It looks like a turned up AAU tournament out there because everybody can really ball. I think for me, in my perspective, I think the NBA Finals and who's going to win is going to come down to coaching and attention to details, right? The little things that make up for the big games, the big games. From what you're seeing this year, who do you think is the MVP right now? If you had to pick, be biased, be honest. Don't be biased. Be honest.
Man, I gotta roll with Chris Paul.
Hey.
Okay, here's why. Like, you know, he impacts every single team he plays for, and I get that everyone wants to look at the stats and like, 16 points a game, like, isn't, MVP worthy. So I can make cases for two different people, okay? Like, Chris Paul, I feel like, deserves it because just his impact alone. Like, the Suns, they have everything they truly need, I feel like, to make it to the finals.
Are they in the third or second in the West?
They're in second in the West.
Wow, really?
They're in second in the West, and there was at one point they were at second in the entire league. So, which is crazy.
Who's number one in the West?
Jazz.
Oh, wow.
The Jazz, yeah. See, no one even, knows that. Like, the Jazz don't get enough attention. Like, no one cares about the Jazz. Everyone's like, oh, the Jazz. And it's funny because, Donovan probably deserves to, potentially be MVP, but they got that sixth man of the year coming off the bench. So, I mean,
that boy, Donovan, got some fire up under him.
I know.
Nuggets last year, that hurt. Right? Then Shaq comments. I feel like after those Shaq comments, he just turned it up. Like, okay.
I know. You know what? Shaq is horrible for that, but I think Chris Paul needs to get in the discussion. My guy Nikola Jokic is just watching him.
He's good.
Play the game. Like,
Barton too, man. Baltimore Nick.
Who?
Will Barton.
Oh yeah, your guy. But Nikola Jokic, he just does. You can't stop him. I mean, it's crazy because like a bad game for him is like 20 points and 10 rebounds. Like, oh, he had an okay game, and it wasn't that good. And it's like people expect him to be putting up like 30 points a night, 15 rebounds, 10 assists. I mean, at one point he was leading the league in assists, and he's a big man. Just watching how he orchestrates the floor. I think he's just one of those guys that he just impacts the game at such a high level. And now without Murray, he's going to have to step it up. He's going to he's a big man. Yeah, he's a what does my friend call him? He calls him is it a big guard, or he calls him something. But
forward.
He's a guard, but he's also, a big man obviously. So he's kind of changed the game. So like Winston said, like Damian Lillard, you can make a case for him too. There's so many guys. Joel Embiid. Joel Embiid. Yep, he does. Joel Embiid. Any of them.
MVP. That's my pick for now.
Who?
I think Joel Embiid.
Okay.
I think he's shown. He's doing it. So to piggyback off the CP3, because the way you explain it makes sense. He should be most valuable player, not the most popular player who scores all the points to win for his team. Do you think Williams should be coach of the year? Who gets coach of the year for the regular season? Because they've been doing good this year.
I mean, why not? Like, why wouldn't he get coach of the year? But I mean, you can make a case for Doc Rivers, But I mean, I think what Monty's been able to do. No one expected the Suns to be where they're at right now, at all. But I think like with the combination of who they have is just they're making it work. And I think Monty's just one of those coaches where he's been there, done that. I mean, he's been to the playoffs before. He knows how to coach superstar talent. And I'm gonna go with Monty on that one. But I do think, like you mentioned, in the playoffs though, it's gonna kind of come down to coaching. I mean, it's gonna come down to the best coaches and how to the detail. Yeah, to the detail. So we're gonna see with Monty, but I'm gonna go with Monty, and I'm gonna go with CP3 as my MVP. I don't care what anyone says. I've heard it all.
No, that's cool. I like
stupid,
that.
blah blah blah. He's
so
not. He's just the way he impacts the game.
We got MVP. We got coach. Who gets most improved this year?
That's a tough one. You're gonna need to give me a list of players because that's a tough one.
I don't know how. What's his name? What's the guy from Kansas that plays in Charlotte who averaged like 19 last year? I don't know what his year was like this year. Is it Devontae Graham?
Devontae Graham. Devontae Graham. That was last year that he could have potentially got it.
But he didn't. Really, I think Jaylen Brown been showing up this year. I like Jaylen Brown.
He's playing good. He's playing good.
Who else has been playing good this year that stood out this year? I don't know. Nobody else that stands out that I know. I mean, you watch more basketball than I do.
I mean, another guy in the Hornets that I think has been playing really well is Terry Rozier. Terry Rozier has been playing really good. Julius Randle with the Knicks has been playing really good. Yeah. That's another one. That's so funny. Winston just said it at the same time as me. Wow. Our minds think alike. I'd probably say Julius Randle. I think he's kind of put the Knicks on the map. No one thought the Knicks were going to go anywhere. I mean, let's be real.
I mean, we could say, I mean, he's been in the league for a long time, but, I mean, what if he gets sixth man and most improved? Jordan Clarkson. I mean, that guy's.
I feel like Jordan's always been balling, though, but I think he's on, like, another level right now. But I feel like Jordan's always been a bucket. Jordan's always been a bucket. But sixth man of the year, absolutely. 100%. Like, it's crazy because you could almost give him the MVP. I know that sounds wild, but there's been so many games that if it wasn't for him going off, they wouldn't be where they are right now. So, like, technically, like, I wonder if that would ever happen, but it probably wouldn't. Like, if you're a sixth man, like, you can't be an MVP. But we saw Andre Iguodala win an NBA Finals MVP. Like, come on.
Yeah. So we got to ask by most improved. What about Defensive Player of the Year? I mean, you got Rudy Gobert. Who else is locking, things up these days?
I mean, there's this other guy, I think it starts with a B and last name starts with an S or something. I don't know. I forgot who it is. Ben Simmons.
But seriously, do you really think he deserved Defensive Player of the Year? Like, seriously. Because when you push your narrative with something and it kind of like, I can see that, then you'd be like, yeah, of course, but we're not looking at it like that. Then how do we really know?
I just kind of want to know, like, when they're choosing this kind of when they're choosing anything. I just want to know, like, what the criteria is. The same thing with MVP. Like,
it's political.
It's always political. It's
not about who's the best. It's the most popular. Who's going to make sense for
Ben Simmons is obviously the most popular. I mean, think of who's his agent. What agency he's with. Like, just think about. Like, so, like, you have to think, like, it is politics. Like, there's politics in sports. And, like, when I told you, when you sent me the video of, like, Ben Simmons hasn't, locked up some of the best players in the league, and he's bad offensively, but he's so, fixated on, his defense. But I'm like, that's a PR move right there. That's a PR move. Because if you think about it, like, a lot of these guys, there's a little secret that I know, is that, like, when you hear certain information get leaked to media or like certain things or blah, blah, blah. Like that stuff is like, that's strategy. There's reasons for that, so there's reasons like why he's saying what he's saying. And there's reasons why, like, cause like usually players, not all of them, but like most players, like they don't always like to really talk about themselves or like push for certain things. But think about, when Damian Lillard was like, yo, I got snubbed for All-Star, a couple of years ago, like, what the hell? He's been an All-Star ever since. When you think about certain guys who literally, went on to talk to media about certain things, they get what they want. But I do think Ben Simmons is one of the best defenders in the league. Absolutely. I mean, but then when I was talking to you about, maybe he can't lock down Kevin Durant and LeBron James for 4 quarters, but who the hell can?
Yeah,
Who
yeah, yeah.
can? You know, I'm
No,
like,
really.
no one can. So it's one of those. Yeah, I mean, you're not going to be
So
perfect.
speaking of those two amazing athletes, I've watched both of them closely. Shouts out to Katie and LeBron. Been fans. Really a big LeBron fan, but I love Katie's just determination to be great. Who wins the NBA Finals this year? God willing, everybody's healthy and in shape. Who wins? Who gets there and
Lord.
gets the chip? Like, who wins and gets the chip? Or who gets? By the way, who gets there? And then who's your wild card? Who like might surprisingly get there that we're not thinking about?
Well, I think the Suns might maybe get there.
Oh God,
Yo,
damn, are they paying
I
you?
gotta ride. I gotta ride for the home team. Come on, and they
Damn,
they
I thought
beat
you
they beat some
Chicago.
quality. They beat some quality teams this
Oh,
year.
you know,
And
most improved? Zach LaVine. Zach LaVine, most improved.
ooh, I'm going with Julius. I'm going
Okay.
with Julius only based on record. I feel like aren't the Knicks better than the
Okay.
Bulls right now? The Bulls have been. Ugh, I don't even want to go there. It's a toss
Oh,
up, but the Suns, I think
okay.
everyone's been underestimating them. They're going to be that wild card team that everyone's shocked by, even though they shouldn't. Like, I don't know. No one's really watching the games clearly, but they have everything they need, but from veteran players to young players, but they're not too young. They're kind of like getting seasoned and improving as they go. And then
Yeah.
also, they have such a squad off the bench. Like, I don't think people realize, like, these guys can shoot threes. Like, these guys they're
Yeah, I
shooters.
had like 26 last night. Like, damn, Jay.
The other night, yeah, I think the other night against the Rockets, they shot like was it I'm trying to think. I think it was like, they made history. They shot like 22 threes in a night, or like 22 to 25 threes. So
Yeah.
I think the Suns can surprise a lot of people. I think they do have all the pieces they need. And what I can tell different from previous years is like the veterans and the players that have come to the team. They are all a lot of them are very family oriented, and they all like don't really have any distractions anymore. They're not like the
Oh,
young.
location
They're locked
matter.
in. They're locked
Yeah.
in. They got, you know, a lot of them got families. A lot of them are not doing anything. Like, they're very, I think like Monty also, like, you know, he's very spiritual too. I think he's kind of like, you know, changed the
Like the
locker room.
of the
Yeah, like a
Suns.
Mark Jackson. Yes.
Yeah.
So he's also brought like his style into the locker room, which I really love. And then I think, listen, I can't count LeBron James out ever. Like, I just can't. But if they're not healthy, like if AD and LeBron aren't back and they're not healthy, like there's just no way like that they're going to
Yeah.
be able to win. And I also don't think that they have a ton of depth, so it's kind of scary to me. But you got the Clippers out in the West who picked up this guy named Rajon Rondo, playoff Rondo, that I think like can make an impact. But I mean, the
I love
Nets.
Rondo. Rondo's a Pisces. Shouts out to Rondo. He gonna get in your skin. He gonna play hard, but they need more than Rondo to win. It's gonna come down to coaching for them. I feel
Yeah.
like when they get playoffs, I don't know. They get confused. I think Paul and Kawhi gotta establish, okay, who is one and who is two. You know what I mean? Like,
Well, Kawhi is
I think
obviously one, and PG's two.
you say what?
Kawhi is obviously one, and PG's two. Like, I
But
don't.
Paul
I
is
feel like
putting up numbers. He's one. You know what I mean? Put up
yeah,
36, 33, 28. You know what I'm saying? So I'm
yeah,
saying when you eventually say it, like when LeBron say no, AD's the guy, he gives them that energy, even though he still shows up the guy. If that makes
yeah.
sense. But it
Yeah, I
should be a
mean,
playoff run for any team. I like the Nuggets as a wild card as well as the Blazers.
the
Um,
Nuggets without Jamal though.
I don't know. They've been playing together for so long. All those guys. I don't know. I just feel like the Jazz as well. Let's put the Jazz in there. I think they have what it takes. But yeah.
East is going to be between the Sixers and the Nets, but I'm going to take the Nets.
Okay, Nets for
I'm
sure.
going to take the Nets, but I mean, they need to be healthy. You know, like
Wild card. Boston Celtics. Shouts out to Jays. What's it? Jason Tatum. What's his name?
yep,
Jason.
his
Jason
name's
Tatum. I like
Jason
Jason
Tatum. Yes,
Tatum.
they're playing good. They're making a little run right now because I was a little concerned
Yeah.
about them down
Yeah.
the stretch.
Aaron Gordon up Jamal points. That's a fact. I like Aaron
Yeah,
Gordon.
yeah.
That makes-
But Jamal is still that guy that you want in crunch time.
Oh
He's
yeah,
that
for sure.
guy, like, man,
Right.
like, who? I
Yeah.
mean, and they were able to fill the void. So Aaron Gordon was able to fill the void for Jeremy Grant, who obviously was, a big part of their bubble run last year as well. And then also, okay, the Miami Heat, we got to give them some love. They made it,
Yeah,
to the,
like
they made it to the finals.
they still hung over from the finals, man. I feel like they gave everything they had, man. But we'll see what a playoff.
They
Because
got
Tyler
Victor
Hero,
Oladipo now.
like, where is that guy? Where's Kendrick Nunn? Is he still in the league? Like, where's he?
He's with the Heat.
Oh, okay. Maybe he's not making noise like he was last year.
I mean, they got a pretty big roster.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
They actually have a deep team. They really do. If Victor Oladipo can stay healthy.
So we talked about women in sports. We talked about, preparation and work ethic and being prepared when the job is there, doing your due diligence, doing your research. We got our NBA selections and picks.
Mm-hmm.
But can you give the people a little bit of feedback on what does it take to be an NBA reporter and producer? And more importantly, what advice would you give a young lady or male that want to be in a position you're in or even get to that level? Like, what does it take? What does it look like? And what you think they should keep in the front of their mind when they're thinking about this path or career for them?
Ooh. It's very competitive. You're gonna get a lot of people in your ear being like, everyone wants to do that. Not everyone makes it. Not everyone's gonna be the next blah blah blah. Not everyone's gonna be the next Rachel Nichols or the next Doris Burke or the next Stephen A. Smith. And it's like, I've had to kind of tell the naysayers, nicely to I'm not gonna listen to you. So you're gonna get a lot of people that try to tell you oh, not gonna make a lot of money. You're not gonna do this. You're not gonna do that. Oh, you should just, settle for the 9-to-5 job. Not saying that's a bad thing, but, I've heard a lot of people be like, oh, I gave up sports because I wanted to make money or be, in corporate or whatever. But I just stay with it, stay with it. I mean, not everybody is, those people who tell you to give up on your dreams are people that gave up on theirs and they just don't have faith in themselves. And so, you're going to get a lot of people that try to tell you not to do something. Just stay with it. Also go to as many career conferences as possible. I spent a lot of money. I invested a lot of money into myself. I traveled to any sports career conference. They showed us the panel, who was going to be there. Oh, that guy from ESPN. Oh, that guy from this team. Hell yeah. I'm going to go to this. And, I that's how I got started is I went to a career conference and I met a lot of people at ESPN. I met a lot of people in the NBA industry. And that's also another thing with basketball is that it's just a tight-knit group. I met so many coaches, GMs, presidents of teams, and just putting yourself out there, posting things, posting stuff on social media. I can't tell you how many times, reporters, when I was, coaching a little bit and mentoring, I was giving, people instruction, okay, this is what you need to do every day. Because there was a point where I was posting on Instagram every day. It was called Ash Talk. Welcome to this edition of, Ash Talk, like a spinoff Trash Talk. But, I would, give an NBA update and I would, throw in my Chelsea Handler twist and make it funny. And I was doing it every day. One of my friends was like, dude, you need to post content every day. You need to show your personality. You need to do this and do that. And I see now a lot of people that want it. They say they want it, but they don't put in the work. They want you to, feed them with a spoon and be coddle them. And it's I'm not going to give you my connections. No, I'm not going to put you in contact with this person. No, I'm not going to do all this for you. I'm not going to, hand over everything to you. And this has been years. This has been 8-9 years of consistency.
You got to earn your keep. You got to put in the work. And I
yes.
think someone in your position, putting in the work, getting the experiences that brings the wisdom, allows you to transform and evolve in a different manner each year because you're meeting new people, you're interviewing new people, you're learning new things, you're becoming a new person.
Mm-hmm.
Always, if you're not willing to change your mind, you can't really change your life.
Mm-hmm.
You got to shift your paradigm on the things you believe in.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to wrap really soon. Before we wrap, I have a fun rapid fire questionnaire for you.
Ooh, I like games. Okay.
I want to know what you're thinking with these questions. Are you ready?
Okay. I'm ready to go.
You sure?
I think so. Let me take a sip of water. Okay, let's go.
Ready? Allen Iverson or Kyrie Irving? Yeah. 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 Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
know.
What you got? Come on.
Allen Iverson.
Got it. Michael Jordan or LeBron James?
How dare you? How dare you?
How dare you?
How dare you ask me this question? Ugh.
Let's
I
go.
hate this question. I hate this question.
Give me what you got. Really, what you got? Come
Because
on.
I like both of them.
You
Ugh,
gotta pick one. You only can pick one. One is fun.
Michael Jordan.
Okay. NBA Finals or the NCAA tournament? Final Four versus the NBA Finals.
NBA Finals. NBA
Oh,
Finals.
okay. Shocking. I thought you was gonna say the tournament. I'm not gonna lie.
I like the tournament, but like NBA Finals, like I love the NBA.
The Wildcats in Arizona or the Suns in Phoenix?
Not the Sun Devils, right? The Suns, the Phoenix Suns, not the Sun Devils. Phoenix Suns. I'm gonna go with the Suns right now. Like the Wildcats are horrible. Like I can't even.
Turn your back on your alma mater. Okay.
Except the women's basketball team made it to the championship round, so that was exciting. But the basketball team has been nothing but disappointment year in and year out. So, yeah.
So for Ashley, if it comes to a man, does she prefer the athletic type, the athlete, or the businessman?
Okay, so I have a question though. Does the businessman still take care of his body?
Hey, I can't give you them details. You just gotta go off your gut. Like the
athlete.
When you think of athlete, you think of businessman. What do you gravitate more?
Ooh,
there's no right or wrong. I'm just trying to see,
Honestly, like, but what if you have a businessman that is an athlete?
I don't know. Which one do you prefer?
It could be both. It could be a combination of both. I mean, there's nothing like a guy in a suit and tie holding a briefcase.
Got it.
All cleaned up and all cleaned up.
Businessman,
sophisticated. Huh? Ooh, yeah. Okay, give me a businessman. Yeah.
So we didn't really discuss too much of women's basketball, but I had a question. Shouts out to the Hoop Lord, a good friend of mine, and he believed that the women WNBA should lower their hoops to get more of an more entertaining game, and maybe they'll get paid more money. What do you think? And what is your overall thoughts on women's basketball? And how can women's basketball get more ratings and more attention from Ashley Nevel's perspective?
Well, first things first, like I don't always think it's fair for men to chime in on a sport that they're technically not playing or not involved in. So I don't think it's fair. And the same thing with me, though. The same thing with me. Like, I don't think it's fair for me to also say that WNBA should do this because I'm not in the sport. I'm not playing this. I'm not there. I'm not on the court. So I think like asking other WNBA players is the way to go because they're the ones that have to play. And like Candace Parker was like, I'm not doing that. Like she was on TNT, with Shaq and Dwyane Wade. They are on there every Tuesday. And Shaq, started the discussion and talked about that. And she's like, no, like, we're not doing that. Like, we don't want to do that. Now, would I love to watch women dunk, like windmill dunks? Like, hell yeah, I would love to watch that. Oh, yeah. I would love that. Maybe they can try it. Maybe they can like do something in the preseason where they can lower it and see like how it works. I mean, I know Adam Silver is always implementing new ways to make the game interesting or make the game quicker, but I do think that it's up to the WNBA players to make that decision. Would I enjoy it? Who wouldn't enjoy anyone dunking? Like that's the beauty of the game. But and then in terms of, I saw someone talk about equal pay. I do think that they should get, more, but again, like it's, marketing dollars. And I don't feel like the WNBA does enough to promote their players. And I tried to make this point the other day. I forgot what post it was, but I was like, if you have a product and you know how to sell the product, you know how to market it, you know how to make it fun and interesting. Like, I feel like the women's college tournament this year was so fun to watch. Like, it was so exciting. And I think it's also because of social media. A lot of the players are starting to get more involved. They're starting to really put themselves out there. So I just feel like from a marketing standpoint, the WNBA can do so much better in that respect. But these NBA players, I mean, they're getting paid off of the TV deals, the marketing dollars, the merchandise. Like, they're getting paid off all these things. So the WNBA should also have more games. You know, they should have more games on, you know, ESPN, more games on ABC, which is obviously, you know, an ESPN owned by Disney. But then also like on TNT, you know, there should be, you know, maybe a game or a game a week, or, you know, just a little bit more publicity on NBA TV. So I just feel like it starts with the people who own the team to make those deals, to make those TV deals, and to just make it more exciting. Spend more money on the marketing dollars. Spend more money on social media. You know, like before, when I first started getting into the industry, like no one was doing any of the social media stuff. Like, I brought my phone to Summer League and I'm filming everything. I'm posting everything. So social media is at its peak right now. And I think this is here to stay. You know, people want to go to social media. So you have to do more to promote your product. You need to do more.
Right.
You need to do more to get more. You need to invest money into the TV deals. Yeah, you need to invest way more.
Well, I mean, this was beautiful. I know a little bit more about you today, young lady. Your conversation. So before we get out of here, where can we find you? What do you have going on? What could we look forward to for Ashley? And by the way, I know this is probably a rhetorical question, but I want to make sure I'm saying it right. How do I properly say your last name? Is it Nevel? Like, how do you really say it? I want to make sure I say it.
You know what I love? You always say it wrong, but I love the way you say it, so I never correct you.
So what is it, though?
I don't want to tell you because I love the way that you say it.
It bothers me up here.
You've been saying it wrong since I met you, but I love it. Like, it doesn't make me mad. You know, I'm like, I like it. You say Nevel, and I think it sounds very classy. Like, ooh, Ashley Nevel. Nevel, I like it. But it's Ashley Nevel, like Nevel Longbottom, or like the Nevel brothers, or yeah. But I like Nevel. Like, I think I'm gonna have to put in a request to add like a, what is it? Like an accent mark right above the last E, Nevel. I'm gonna have to put in that request. I think I'm gonna change my last name. Yes, but you know what? You can call me whatever. You could say Ashley, Ash, Nevel, like whatever you want.
When I get to that last name, I'm like, Nevel? Okay.
Same thing. Same thing, same difference. I let it slide because I like it. I think it's actually better than my name, as it is. And then things I have going on right now. I have a couple things in the books, a couple things lined up potentially with some interviews. As I said, interviews are pretty hard to book right now during the regular season. But yeah, I have a couple things. So you got to stay tuned. And you can stay tuned.
We know your Instagram. What about Twitter, any other platforms? You on Twitch, or I don't know, like not Snapchat, TikTok, Clubhouse. You should be doing Clubhouse chats.
I know. There's a lot I need to do. I swear. You give me new ideas every day. But let's see. I have Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter. I do have Snapchat.
What is your first and last name?
Ashley Nevel. Yeah, very simple. Snapchat, I don't always tell people because it's kind of just like my little, like, just people I know. That's my private. I mean, I have like people who follow me on there, but like I usually just, you know, post to my close friends for the most part, depending on what it is. I don't like sharing my life with everyone, but some people. And then, yeah, I do have a TikTok, but I haven't posted on it. I'm trying to figure out the best way to approach it because I want every post I make to be something meaningful. Something that is either like funny, exciting, or it's my basketball stuff. It has to be I'm not just gonna like post to post, you know, like I'm very strategic in what I do. At least now, it wasn't always like that, but now I'm pretty strategic. I'm like, oh, I don't want to post this, I don't want to post that. So I think TikTok is definitely up next. But yeah, I do have some other interviews lined up that I'm like really excited for that I can share with you after we get off the call and we can FaceTime and I'll let you know everything I have going on. But for everyone else
who don't know you, who gonna want to follow you and see more about your life, that's all.
Oh yeah,
so
absolutely.
sign off, what is some words of inspiration or encouragement you can give the people that's going to be watching and listening in this moment? Go for it.
Never take no for an answer. If you want something bad enough, you can get it 100%, no matter what. And I know exactly what I want in my life. I have everything written down, manifesting it, and it's slowly but surely happening. Believe it or not, it's crazy. So write down your goals, write down everything that you need to do to get those goals, and never give up on yourself, ever.
Ashley, thank you. You were amazing.
Thank you.
And be safe, keep winning, keep living, and let's see, go Suns. Apparently.
Wow.
Rookie,
Go Suns, baby.
In the finals? Okay. Believe that.
Everything.
All right. Take care. Have a good one. We'll talk soon. Thanks again.
Love you, E.
Bye. So there it is. Ashley Nevel. She says she likes Nevel. Oh, it's Nevel. Nevel. But anyway, check it out. Let's go up on my page. Appreciate you guys for joining in. Another edition of Bigger Talks, baby. Women in sports, the NBA season, and work ethic, and what it takes to be a producer and reporter. Thank you, Ashley. You guys be great. Hug yourself, love yourself more tonight. Forgive, live, be, and do what you gotta do. I'm out.